Hello folks and welcome to the weekend warm-up with me and him and her. How are we?
Hello Will, lovely, thanks. How are you?
I'm great, it's lovely to have you back, mate.
Thank you, it's so nice to be back in the absolute scorching heat of Hungary, it's great.
It has been a scorcher over 30 degrees today.
I know, it's a lot for us Brits, isn't it?
Absolutely, considering it was absolutely bucketing down with rain all week. Lawrence, it's lovely to be back here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a pretty epic track, pretty epic venue. We're going to have some fans this weekend as well, and we've got a very spicy battle on our hands.
We do. You mentioned it being a great track. Almost every driver that we spoke to today, I think, to a man, mentioned that it was one of their favourite tracks.
Yes, yeah, Yuki I remember specifically bringing it up as one of his favourite tracks. It's one of those circuits where you're always doing something, you're always going left, you always go right, which I know sounds silly, but because of the lack of the straights, they're always working around the track.
Yeah, really is. And it used to be sort of described as Monaco without walls. Carlos Sainz saying today it's anything but that. All of those slow speed corners that we used to know this circuit for, they're now all medium speed corners. Such the sort of the ferocity of these cars.
Yeah, he was saying they're now mainly fourth, fifth gear corners, and actually it's not that low speed, high downforce track that they're so used to, but here it's high downforce, medium to high speeds.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you guys have mentioned it a little bit, of course, the fallout from Silverstone, which is still raging. Everybody in the press conference today, Lewis and Max, we're going to hear from them in a moment. What vibe did you get from them?
Gosh, well, I mean, both were sort of pretty honest with their answers. Lewis saying, I don't really have much more to say than I did last week, to be honest. I've said all I can about this. And actually, he was pretty clear in saying, if I was in the same position, I would do exactly the same move again. So that's his line, and he's sticking to it.
Racing line
or
PR line? Yeah, but it's the same with Max, wasn't it?
Yeah, he wasn't going to be the one who was going to back down at all. And I think it's interesting that it was actually Lewis who called Max first. He was the one who made that move. Max didn't really seem, by the sounds of it, to reciprocate the comments that Lewis was making in said phone call. I think it's going to be really spicy when they come wheel to wheel, because both of them, like you said, Laura, are saying that they're not going to change their approach. They both don't think they did anything wrong. So surely, by the laws of averages, if they do the same thing again, the same thing's going to happen, no?
Well, Mercedes said in the week, this kind of thing was inevitable. They expect it to happen again. If it will happen this weekend or not is anyone's guess. What I find fascinating with all of this is how it's not just a battle on track, it's a battle for sort of hearts and minds out of the track. Toto, Christian, that whole fight of who's in the right, who's in the wrong. Red Bull and Max still today saying it was wrong of Lewis to celebrate the win. Lewis saying, come on, I was in front of 140,000 British fans. I actually didn't know he was in the hospital. If I had done, it would have changed things, but I didn't. I was celebrating in front of my fans. What do you want me to do? You know, it's and then Christian, obviously, and everybody's saying this, it's just not right. Max saying this is just how they are. I mean, it's getting needly.
It is. It's a war of words, isn't it, in the media? And Max actually making it quite clear that he wants to steer well clear of all that's going on in the media. He's trying not to get involved in that, and I guess do his talking out on the track this weekend, which makes for a very, very exciting Hungarian Grand Prix for us.
And at the same time, his team boss Christian Horner has sort of protested, has requested a right to review with the stewards over that penalty. He wants more than the 10 seconds. It's been bandied around. He wants a race ban, which seems mad. But I mean, I've never seen a 10-second penalty go to a race ban. They are meeting at the moment. They've been meeting for an hour and 15 minutes. Lawrence, you know how these things go. Will we hear anything tonight? Will we see a change, do you think?
I'm not going to predict it because it will inevitably be wrong. But it does tend to take some time, generally, for them to go through it. If Red Bull have requested this right for review, it means they've got new evidence, which means it's going to take some time to go through that evidence and work out whether it's worth reopening the investigation or whether they just leave it as it is and it's ended up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think we might have heard by now if the stewards had just said that's not new evidence and kicked it out. So the fact we haven't heard anything would suggest they are looking into it. But obviously, time will tell. Is this just Red Bull doing what Red Bull does? The last time a protest, actually a right to review, was upheld was when Red Bull brought it up in Austria last year, 40 minutes before lights out. Lewis ended up getting moved further down the grid for not respecting those yellows when Valtteri went off in qualifying. Let's hear though from Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, the last race before the summer break, neither driver wanting to give an inch.
We had a call last week, but at the end of the day, you know, these things, it's fine. I mean, it's not like it's only going to be completely different to each other. Of course, I'm not happy with what happened in Silverstone, but those things you cannot change now. We just have to focus on the performance here this weekend.
For me, I continue to do what I'm doing, continue to apply myself the way I do, and I've been racing a long time, so I've raced against all sorts of characters, and one thing I just encourage people to never ever second guess themselves or doubt themselves, or of course we can always grow and learn from things and experiences that we face and obstacles that we eventually get past. But for me, I'm going to continue to race hard and give it everything. We're fighting for a championship.
All of the focus on Max and Lewis, but of course 2 other drivers, Valtteri and Checo. How were they?
Valtteri was in pretty good spirits because he's had a pretty good run of form of late, and probably his strongest run of form this year.
He hasn't. That's been hidden, hasn't it?
And I think it's just unfortunate that there's so much else going on at the moment that you probably forget that he has had 3 very strong races.
Yeah, and Laura, Checo seemingly, if reports are to be believed, looking like another season at Red Bull in 22.
Yes, I think Helmut Marko has sort of insinuated that is the case. One word on Valtteri Bottas, of course. While he's got great form on the track, every single question in the press conference, or most of them, were about his future and whether that will be decided over the summer break. So similarly with obviously Checo as well, we had a torrid weekend at Silverstone. He'll be looking to bounce back here, but actually both drivers are still very much in the driver market, and the questions and the furore is all about where they'll be in 2022. Indeed.
2 drivers who have their places assured for 2022 are down here at McLaren, Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo. Lando P3. Can you believe that? In the Drivers' Championship. It's astonishing, isn't it?
I can, and I read your brilliant piece actually, Lawrence, on F1.com.
Oh, that's a nice plug.
Stop.
You up, mate.
All
there,
about how he got there and how actually he has built throughout the season and the consistency in which he's had. And some of the stats that you listed there were just incredible about the run of points, finishes, the best McLaren drivers ever got, which is astonishing when you look at the drivers who've actually raced for McLaren.
15 races in a row.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and you think about, Senna's, the Prost, the Hamiltons, the Alonsos who've raced for McLaren, and Lando's got the better record of them all.
Yeah, Senna and Prost days, 15 races was an entire season.
True, but you can run it into next year.
Very true, very, very true. Daniel as well had a massive turnaround of form at Silverstone. Seems he finally, something kind of clicked that weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. He's beginning to show the signs of the Daniel Ricciardo of old, and I feel we've been saying that since France, that he had a real downturn in form in Austria, and then it's good to see at Silverstone he's just beginning to come back, and I think he's really looking to bounce into that summer break with some real form and momentum and consistency from that.
What did you feel?
Yeah, I think if he can have a strong weekend here, it just gives him a bigger sample size to believe that he has started to turn that corner. And you can read a lot into body language, and he is certainly bouncier here than he has been for a while. I think the team they've always been quite positive, but you get the vibe out of the team that they've also made some gains in that area as well. And if he can have a strong race here, that's the perfect way to go into a summer break where he can recharge and hit it hard from Spa. And yeah, I do think he has turned a corner without trying to jinx it.
Aston Martin have had a tough half to the year, of course, not what anybody was expecting. Lance Stroll, I spoke to him earlier, and he's not really got much positivity sort of around him really over the year so far. Doesn't really expect much change in the second half. It's always I don't know, mate, it's difficult to draw anything out of Lance in the pens. I know that when you get to speak to him on the fan events, he's way more open than he is with us in the pen. I just don't think he likes the whole pen environment.
Perhaps it is an intimidating environment. You forget, because he's been in F1 for a while, that he is still a relatively young guy, and he is facing the world's media, and I think that can be kind of backs against the rope scenario. But he does open up, he can open up, and we saw him open up when he got that pole last season as well. You saw the real glimpse of what Lance Stroll can be like, and you just kind of want a bit more of that. As people in the media, you want to see the driver being the absolute best person they can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Third on the grid last year, 4th in the race. It's disappointing for him, I guess, in some ways, and for Sebastian and the team to come here knowing that's probably not going to happen again. Things have changed a lot for these guys. A lot, for the positive. They're Aston Martin now and the future looks bright, but in terms of competitiveness at the moment, it's not where they want to be.
No, they do, however, have some shreds of positivity going through the rest of this year and into next year, and one of those is Sebastian Vettel, who has found his feet with the team, has created the foundation on which to build and grow into the future. Lawrence spoke to him earlier. You're going to hear from him now.
I think the team is great, so I'm really pleased. I think the spirit is good in the team, and after some races that maybe didn't go my way and our way in the beginning, I think we settled into a groove and had some highlights. Now yeah, the last couple of races have been a bit more difficult and slightly disrupted, but I think Silverstone was a really good weekend, apart from that, opening lap, which obviously cost us the opportunity to score points. So we'll see what we get here, but yeah, it's been a bit of a mixed bag, but I think there were some really positives.
Party time at Alpine for the birthday boy Fernando Alonso. 40 today. I'd say he's getting old. But,
he doesn't look 40.
But I turned 40 in February, so I can't say that. So, but absolutely amazing. The scene, of course, of his first win 18 years ago. Still here, still punching, still swinging, and in a great mood today.
It's incredible. Yeah, I just did a fan call with him actually, and he's in really, really good spirits, really light, full of energy, and you can see why. I mean, Alpine have put on an absolute show for him. There are banners, balloons, everything, and actually, I spoke to them earlier. They've also surprised him. His parents have come to the race.
Oh, that's
and
lovely.
They said that his parents don't often get out to a race, and they've come here today to surprise him on his 40th, which is so nice. Even at the age of 40, you still want your mum and dad around, don't you?
Of course you do.
Yeah,
absolutely. Lawrence, what do you make of his year so far, particularly like the last few races?
I think it's clicked for him. I think that there was a little bit of rust at the start, but who wouldn't expect rust after you've had a couple of years out? And you can see there's that spark in his eye again. I think if there was a little bit of doubt in his mind that he wouldn't be able to get that talent that he had or that performance that he had when he left Formula One, that's not there anymore. And he's getting praise from Alan Permain, from Martin Buszkowski, and David Brivier. They all rate him highly, and he's doing exactly what they're paying him to do.
And the car isn't as competitive as he'd wanted it to be. It's nowhere near where he needs it to be. But I was talking to him earlier today, and he said the frustrating days are the days when he feels he's at 60%. The days when he can get himself back up to that 99%. That's where he exists. That's where he loves to be. And it's that constant drug of searching for that last percent to get it to 100 that you never get. You're never at 100. You're always just at 99. And that's what keeps pushing him along. That's what keeps him wanting to come back and wanting to be competitive. And as he said, actually coming back to Formula One is muscle memory for him. Mm-hmm. Doing the Dakar, doing the World Endurance Championship, doing IndyCar, he was trying to learn that. This is where he's comfortable. This is where he's at home.
And of course, Alpine were fighting for P3 last year in the Constructor Championships.
Yeah.
They're certainly not in that position right now, but I know that's something he's really looking to push on. That's the impact he wants to have at Alpine.
And of course, with the new start next year, and talking about a new start, Esteban Ocon, who conversely had a great start to the year as Fernando struggled, then had his races where he struggled as Fernando came on song. A new chassis, though, last time out at Silverstone seemed to turn the tide for Esteban. Super confident going into this weekend after a really great race at Silverstone.
It felt a lot better. Straight away when we put the car down in FP1, we saw that it was working like 3 races ago. And yeah, the team have done a huge effort, to change, to check all the components, not only the chassis but everything that was going with it. And yeah, there's been a few doubts, and that's out of our mind now, so we can start working on what we know and get back onto the pace that we had earlier in the year.
Down at AlphaTauri, Yuki had some good comments after Silverstone that he has finally clicked with the tyres.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more of a spark in him here as well. I think he's moved close to the factory in Faenza. He hasn't got his home place yet, he was saying. He's looking to buy a house over the summer so he can get a bit settled, get some aircon, he said, because the place that he's got at the moment hasn't got aircon.
Grim.
This is the important details that you need.
This is it.
This is what's important to Yuki, you see. But hopefully he'll get settled over the summer. Helmut and Franz have been saying really nice things about him. He's starting to get some consistency at the team. Now he just needs to keep scoring points.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking earlier about the comments out of Helmut, same teams for next year. That's going to settle him and Pierre.
Absolutely, and I'm so excited by AlphaTauri and by Pierre Gasly and by Yuki Tsunoda and the way in which they've both driven this year. The belief they have, the confidence they have on the track as well. When they come out for quali, when they come out for the race, you have a feeling that something might happen. I know Pierre's had really bad luck so far. Obviously, he's had a couple of punctures, one at Silverstone, one of course at Austria 1 after that collision with Charles Leclerc. And that's cost him some points that could have been in the bag. But you just feel like the momentum is there for him, and actually he's had the best start to a season ever, and he seems to be loving it.
Well, this is it. At the start of the season, they kind of couldn't get out of their own way, particularly Pierre for sort of making on-track errors. Now it's things that are completely out of their control that's costing them points. But you're right, every weekend we come into, we expect to see them punching for the top 10, at least in quali and in the race itself.
Yeah, and today Pierre was saying that he wants, a personal goal of his is to get P5 in the Constructor Championship for the team, something that Franz has been saying for years. That's what they aspire to do. And to be honest, he's got the performance. almost single-handedly to help them achieve that goal this year. And things like the team telling him they want him to lead the AlphaTauri team going forward in the future is only going to galvanise him to keep performing strongly.
It's astonishing to think they're 7th in the running order in the paddock, even more so. And I keep getting this wrong. Every week I walk down the paddock and I expect Ferrari to be before they actually are, because
we're so used to that.
We so quickly forget that they were 6th in the constructors last year.
I know.
And what a turnaround!
Incredible,
Massive,
incredible to see, and it's great to see actually, because you never want to see a team with such history and such a fan base as the Tifosi to be languishing down in the almost to the back of the midfield even. But actually, it's brilliant to see Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz and the two of them together. When I do these fan chats with them and when I do things for hospitality and I interview them, the relation, I was about to say bromance, but it is the kind of bromance they have together, the relationship, the chemistry they have between them is so lovely to see, and you can tell that they truly inspire each other on and off track, and actually that rivalry is as much of a friendship as it is competitive on track.
Is it Carlos? Is it Carlos that just creates that atmosphere? Because they had it at McLaren with Lando, he's got it now at Ferrari with Charles. It just seems like, it's difficult not to get on with Carlos because he's just such an easy, affable guy. But it's not just the fact they're mates. What they're being able to put in place on track is reaping benefits for the team as well. There's such a tight unit.
Yeah, I do think it's his personality. Meet anyone of the Sainz family and you know that they're just lovely people. But they also both get that for them to be successful at this team and to drag Ferrari back up the grid, they need to work together.
Yep.
And so for them to get on off track is as important as it is getting on track. And they're doing everything right at the moment under, not so much pressure because Ferrari know they can't compete at the top just yet.
And Carlos was saying earlier today, he's actually really pleased with his half of the season, with the way that he's adapted to the team, the way he's adapted to the car so quickly that his performances have been on song. So he just needs to get the weekend together. Because at the moment there's just little bits going wrong one weekend to the next, whether he doesn't quite get the race right or hasn't quite got the quali right. But I think the way that they've reacted, particularly after France, and that disappointing weekend in France has been the measure of this team and how well established they are to make good on disappointments.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. And what's really funny, a few races ago in the media, everyone was saying, wait for Hungary, that's Ferrari's kind of track. They'll be up there, pole position, they'll be in the points. They'll even be on the podium, but both drivers have really approached it realistically, cautiously really, with cautious optimism I'd say. And Carlos himself saying, look, the best we're going to go for here is to be behind Red Bull and Mercedes, best of the rest.
They were very nearly best of the bunch at Silverstone, 2 laps away from a victory for Charles Leclerc. But this weekend he's talking about how proud he's been in the team and the turnaround that they've had this year. They are now very much on form, competitive with McLaren and looking to take that third away from, let's hear from Charles Leclerc.
It's going well. After Paul Ricard, there's been a lot of work to try and understand the issues on the tires that we happen to have there. We understand part of it. We still didn't understand the full part of it, so that's why we are still working hard to understand 100% of that issue, for it to not happen again. And I think we have grown since from that experience, and that's the result of it. We showed it in Silverstone, in Austria too, where we were very strong in the races, and this is good to see. But that doesn't mean this issue won't happen again ever during this year, and that's why we are still working hard. But we've definitely done a step forward after France.
All of which brings us down to Alfa Romeo. You spoke to Antonio Giovinazzi, Lawrence.
Yeah, he was reflecting on what's been an encouraging season for him this year. He's really improved, particularly in qualifying. The team just haven't managed to get it together often enough to score the points that I think this car has warranted this year. So I think that's what the target is, not just for here, but for the rest of the season. It's just to start scoring the points they think they deserve.
It surprises me that he said that though, because he's looked wicked fast in practice, and then quali it's just been like, do you know what I mean?
Compared to last year, though.
Yeah, but still, he makes it to Q2, and then it's a P15 start. Quali, I think, is what's really been these guys' negative point all season, because they've got a not bad race car underneath them. But starting so far back, it's just so hard for them on the Sunday.
Yeah, all they can really shoot for there is kind of a P12, P11 at absolute best. And you're right, I do feel they've got this sort of potential, and we can see that they've got a car that goes. You can see it in free practice, you can see that it's moving, but it's not happening in a full, complete weekend for them just yet.
Now, Kimi says that's no shock. They have a point That's all they deserve. You get what you deserve, he told me earlier. That's it. So he's not expecting anything more than that for the rest of the season. It's going to be tough for them. But they are looking very much towards 2022. Open choice on drivers as well, Lawrence.
Yeah, there's they and Williams are going to be the key talking points, I think, over the summer. Who's going to fill those 2 seats? There is a plethora of drivers.
There might be both drivers changed.
Could be.
At Alpha. There's a very high chance neither of them come back next year.
Yeah, I think that for Kimi, it all kind of hinges on, does he want to stay around? Does he want to do another season? And then conversely, do the team feel like he brings enough to want to keep him? And then if you're going to be replacing Kimi, you're going to want someone with experience. Yeah. And there isn't exactly a lot of people around that would be able to fulfill that criteria, especially when you're going into 2022, when you need that experience to develop a car quickly.
Will one Finn lead to another?
You tried. I do think that Valtteri could go there. He could go Williams, or he could go and leave Ferrari. And this is presuming that he doesn't stay at Mercedes. But he's got plenty of options. He just needs to decide if he wants to continue his career down towards the bottom end of the grid.
Yes. Talking about the bottom end of the grid, difficult weekend for Haas at Silverstone. It's a difficult weekend every weekend though, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel really bad talking to these guys week in, week out, because what can they say to us that's any different to probably the week before that and the race before that? Because this car has been undeveloped for the whole year. They know that. They know that they're off the pack, so they're not really going to be racing anyone. Sometimes they might get a shock Q2 like Mick obviously did earlier this year, but they're really kind of hoping on a miracle.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's all about experience for them.
And I think they're still keeping their spirits high. I mean, I actually spoke to them just a moment ago as well, and they were both seemingly in good spirits. It actually quite interesting the stuff you hear behind the scenes from them. They both have a very, very different approach to race day. So Nikita Mazepin likes to listen to techno dance music, as you can probably imagine. Mick Schumacher listens to nature sounds.
Yeah.
To sort of meditate and get himself in the mood.
I thought you were going to say like Brahms.
No, nature sounds. So
wow.
I know. And then I asked them, a fan asked them about their favourite TV show at the moment. Nikita Mazepin says Peaky Blinders. And then Mick Schumacher says, I've just watched a Disney film, Loki. I really enjoyed it. They're such polar opposite characters in their likes and dislikes.
Amazing.
It's quite extraordinary, but they're keeping their spirits high. They're rookies in F1 and they think they're both realistic about that and where they stand.
Nikita Mazepin was testing a Dakar truck this week, 8.5 tons, so the Haas is going to feel nimble for the first time this year. Let's finish at Williams, the talk of the paddock. Well, not so much Williams, more. Well, actually, let's start with Latifi, because Nikita was driving a truck and Latifi was driving a tank.
Yeah, very cool, with the British Army.
Yeah.
Quite a day out. He had a couple of pictures of him sticking out the top of a tank. My terminology of tanks.
Sticking out the top of a tank.
Yeah. You know, the little hole, the hatch, you pop out.
The little hole with the hatch.
Yeah, you know it, yeah. Oh, but I do know he fixed one of the... what's the truck? There's a track, isn't it?
There's a track.
Yeah, he was helping fix that and he had to get a sledgehammer to it. There we go. I knew it was called a track. There we go. Sorted. My tag knowledge.
Me, Lawrence, to be fair.
Nicky said the thing turns on a sixpence. He said it's better than his F1 car. You could get that around the Lowe's hairpin. Easy.
No 3-point turns.
No 3-point turns. Anyway, the big story, of course, is George. Won't he be a Mercedes driver next year? The reception he got at Silverstone was ridiculous.
Epic. Absolutely epic. With the crowd on their feet in that sprint quali urging him on. It was so exciting to see. I wasn't actually at Silverstone, but I watched it on my phone.
You could probably hear the cheer from wherever you were.
Honestly, it was absolutely extraordinary to see, and almost quite sort of emotional, I think, for George certainly, that this entire fan base at Silverstone around him are fully behind him. And it must be very exciting for him going into a summer in which his future should be decided.
It's decided already, isn't it?
I think we'll know soon.
Lawrence Barretto with a poker face almost as bad as George Russell's, as you're about to find out.
I don't know what everybody's saying, to be honest. You know, we're coming into a summer break. Sorry, you made me laugh then. You gave me... you know, everybody's fighting. I'm losing at the moment, sorry. Everybody's fighting their own battles, and I can't keep a straight face at the moment. Sorry, this is your fault. You've caused a mess here now, Lawrence. The fact that everybody's fighting their own battles, and we're in the middle of a season. You know, Red Bull and Mercedes are going head to head for the championship. We're giving everything we've got to, finish 8th in the Constructors' Championship, and things like contract negotiations just are disrupt the flow that everybody has, and we're coming into a summer break where you got 4 weeks off, and that's the ideal opportunity to get things sorted. So everybody's going to want to have things sort of not set in stone, but a good indication of their future by the time we come back after the summer break. So I suspect everybody will have a decision at some point during the summer break, and that's not just for myself, but other drivers up and down the grid, whether it's the Red Bull drivers or the Alfa Romeo drivers. This is the time when things happen. So let's see.
As if by magic, a racetrack appeared for the close. Just before we talk about the close, terrible poker face on George Russell, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? He's looking a little gleeful, but what can we read into that?
He looks like a kid who's been caught with his hand in the sweetie jar, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he's feeling pretty happy about life at the moment.
Read into that what you will. Right, bold prediction, Lawrence, you go first.
I think it's going to be a Lewis, Max, Carlos podium.
Ooh, spicy.
I like that. I'm going for Daniel Ricciardo on the podium.
Nice.
And Sebastian Vettel top 5.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. I am going to predict that Max and Lewis won't see turn 5 on lap 1.
That is punchy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think it'll either be turn 1, turn 3 or turn 4, and one of them, if not both of them, won't see the checkered flag.
Just think of the damage bill. That's the first thing that I thought about.
You sound like Christian. Right, that's it, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in. Cannot wait for this weekend. It's always such a great event here in Hungary on this brilliant track. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thank you both for your insights as always, and we'll see you at the next one.